September 14th, 1984, 2:13 in the morning, Hialeah, Florida. The rain isn't just falling, it is hammering against the cheap aluminum siding of the Motel 6, a relentless, drowning percussion that swallows the sound of the highway nearby. Inside room 112, the air conditioner rattles with a dying mechanical wheeze, struggling against the humidity that clings to the cheap polyester bedspread. It smells of stale tobacco and industrial cleaner. Sitting on the edge of the mattress is Miguel. In the underworld of Miami, they call him the Saint. He earned that name not because he is holy, but because he has a ritual of praying over the men he dissolves in acid drums. He is a man who has looked into the eyes of death 100 times without blinking. But tonight, in the safety of a locked room, Miguel is vibrating. Wire. That is the word hanging in the air like smoke. He holds the beige telephone receiver with a grip so tight his knuckles are white, the plastic slick with cold sweat. He isn't calling a hitman. He isn't calling a supplier. He is waiting for a dial tone that will connect him to the one thing forbidden in his world, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration. He has exactly 90 seconds. 90 seconds to make the deal of a lifetime before his courage evaporates or his cover is blown. He dials. His breath is shallow, jagged, catching in his throat. 1 ring, 2 rings. He closes his eyes, visualizing the face of his 15-year-old daughter, convincing himself that this betrayal is an act of love, not cowardice. The line connects. There is a click. But it isn't the sharp, bureaucratic voice of Agent Miller that greets him. It isn't the promise of witness protection. It is a sound much closer to home, the distinct metallic clink of a gold Zippo lighter flicking open. Then the long, slow inhale of burning tobacco. Then silence. A silence so heavy it feels like it has physical weight. A woman's voice, raspy and bored, finally breaks the static. It's raining in Medellin too, Miguel. That was the moment the Saint realized the truth that would define the next 48 hours of terror in Miami. Walls might have ears, but the Godmother holds the keys to every room. To understand why a man like Miguel, a top-tier lieutenant, a man with ice water in his veins, would risk his soul to talk to the feds, you have to look at the board as it stood in the autumn of 1984. We are deep in the paranoia phase of Griselda Blanco's reign. The golden days of the late 70s, the Scarface era of easy money and open cowboy behavior, are ancient history. The Dadeland Mall shooting is a faded memory. The new war isn't against rivals. It is against the system. The CENTAC Joint Task Force is no longer a clumsy bureaucratic annoyance. It is a precision machine. They are handing out 20-to-life sentences like parking tickets. The organization is hemorrhaging. Loyalty, once bought with Rolexes and kilos, is now being tested by the threat of the electric chair. Every soldier on the street knows the math. Talk and walk, or stay silent and rot. Griselda knows this too. She is isolated in a fortified safe house, consuming more product than she sells, her mind a fortress of suspicion. She believes the system is tightening a noose around her neck, inch by inch. In her world, the only currency left isn't cocaine, it's silence. And silence has become incredibly expensive. Miguel is the favorite. He is the one allowed to sit at the table when the money is counted. He is the one who drives her sons to the movies. He believes this proximity gives him a shield. He operates under the fatal assumption that logic still applies to Griselda. He thinks that because he knows where the bodies are buried, literally, she wouldn't dare touch him. He calculates that he is too valuable to be discarded. He wants a visa for his daughter, a clean slate, a house in Arizona where the rain doesn't smell like copper and gunpowder. He isn't betraying her for money, he is betraying her for a future. But Miguel has missed a critical detail. Griselda stopped operating on logic months ago. She operates on instinct, and her instinct is a starving animal. The tension begins as a whisper in Little Havana. A rumor, light as ash, circulating through the coffee counters and the back rooms of body shops. Someone is talking. The DEA has a new witness. Paranoia spikes in the organization like a fever. Enforcers start checking their rearview mirrors twice. Safe houses are emptied overnight. The air in Miami changes. It becomes thin, hard to breathe. Miguel misses a mandatory 3 a.m. check-in call. It's a small error, a technicality. Maybe the lines were down. Maybe he fell asleep. In any other year it would be a fine, a slap on the wrist. But tonight, Griselda doesn't shout. She doesn't throw a glass against the wall. She stops speaking. She stands by the window of her penthouse, looking out at the glittering grid of the city she conquered, and she starts pacing, back and forth, a predator in a cage. On her desk sits a single object. It isn't a gun, it isn't a stack of cash. It is a black domino tile, a double six. In the culture of the game, the double six is the heavy hand. It means lock the board. It means the game is over and nobody moves until the winner collects. She picks it up. The tile is cool, smooth, heavy. She runs her thumb over the white dots, feeling the indentations. Agent Miller, representing the relentless machine of the DEA, makes his move. He pulls Miguel off the street. They stash him in a secure hotel, not the jail, thinking they are being clever, thinking they are hiding their prize asset. They treat him to room service, promising him that the hardest part is over. They tell him his testimony will decapitate the organization. They are celebrating a victory that hasn't happened yet. What Agent Miller doesn't understand is that Griselda's network is not built on telephone lines. It is built on fear. The courier, a young, invisible runner who delivers physical messages on a bicycle, has already spotted the unmarked cars. The maid at the hotel has already noted the extra meal trays. The web vibrates. Griselda receives the confirmation of the betrayal via a leaked police report, bought for $10,000 cash from a corrupt clerk. She reads the name, Miguel, her saint, her favorite. Most bosses would send a hit squad. They would storm the hotel with MAC-10s, turning the lobby into a slaughterhouse, creating the kind of headline the DEA craves. It would be loud, messy, and expected. But Griselda is done with noise. She needs something stronger than violence. She needs to rewrite the definition of consequences. She puts the report down. She picks up the black domino. She turns to her remaining lieutenant, a man trembling in the corner, and she doesn't ask for a gun. She issues a command that is terrified in its simplicity. She doesn't order Miguel's death. That would be too easy. That would be a mercy. She looks at the domino, then at the man, and says 3 words that will freeze the blood of every criminal in the city. Touch the blood. The order goes out, not to a hitman, but to the grapevine. It spreads through the payphones, through the clubs, through the markets. Touch the blood. It is an archaic, biblical instruction. It means you don't target the sinner. You target the lineage. You don't kill the man, you kill the reason he is breathing. Miguel sits in his hotel room eating a club sandwich, watching the rain stop. He thinks he has won. He thinks the wire saved him. He checks his watch, waiting for the extraction team to take him to the airport, to Arizona, to his daughter. He doesn't know that the game board has just been locked. He doesn't know that in the market where his family works, a messenger is already parking his bicycle, holding a black tile in his pocket, preparing to deliver a message that no bullet could ever carry. Sunday morning, September 16th, 1984. The sun over Miami is a physical weight, baking the asphalt of the Omni International Mall parking lot and steaming the sidewalks of Little Havana, while Miguel sits in the air-conditioned purgatory of his safe house, picking at a room service tray that has gone cold. His world is about to implode 3 miles away. The setting for the final act isn't a dark alley or a warehouse. It is the open-air market on 8th Street. It is a place of noise, life, and vibrant color. The air smells of frying plantains, roasted pork, and exhaust fumes. Salsa music blares from distorted speakers, competing with the shouting of vendors selling everything from bootleg cassettes to fresh mangoes. This is the heart of the community. It is neutral ground. It is supposed to be safe. In the center of this chaos, at stall number 42, Miguel's extended family is working. His aunt is slicing papaya. His teenage daughter, the one he is betraying his boss to save, is counting change for a customer. She is wearing a yellow sundress. She is laughing. They have no idea that their father is currently sitting on a beige sofa in a Motel 6, negotiating the terms of their relocation to Arizona. They have no idea that the protection Miguel thinks he has bought them is an illusion. At 10:14 a.m., the rhythm of the market changes. It doesn't stop all at once, it ripples. A hush starts at the north entrance, and spreads like a wave of cold water through the crowd. The salsa music is turned down. The shouting stops. A single bicycle enters the market. It isn't a convoy of black SUVs. It isn't a hit squad with Uzis under their trench coats. It is one young man, barely 20 years old, wearing a loose linen shirt and sandals. He is riding a rusted Schwinn bicycle, weaving slowly through the crowd. He doesn't look like a soldier. He looks like a ghost. He pedals with an agonizing slowness, his eyes fixed on stall number 42. The crowd parts for him. They know who he is, not by name but by function. In Griselda's Miami, you learn to recognize the messengers before you recognize the executioners. Agent Miller, monitoring the situation from a surveillance van 6 blocks away, gets the call from a plainclothes officer stationed in the market. "Target approaching," the radio crackles. "We have a potential shooter. Should we engage?" Miller hesitates. He wants the arrest. He wants the crime in progress. "Hold fire," he orders. "Wait for the weapon." But there is no weapon. That is the mistake the system always makes. They look for guns, while Griselda plays with symbols. The young man stops his bicycle in front of the fruit stall. He doesn't look at Miguel's aunt. He doesn't look at the grandmother. He looks directly at the 15-year-old girl in the yellow dress. The market is now silent. Hundreds of people are watching, holding their breath, waiting for the spray of bullets that has defined the last 5 years of the drug wars. The messenger reaches into his pocket. The plainclothes cops tense up, hands hovering over their holsters. Agent Miller screams into the radio, "Take him if he draws." He doesn't draw. He pulls out a small, rectangular object. He leans over the counter, entering the personal space of the girl. He places the object gently next to a stack of sliced oranges. It is the black domino, the 66. The sound of the tile hitting the wooden counter echoes in the silence. Click. Then the messenger leans in closer, intimate, almost like a lover, and whispers 3 words. He doesn't shout them. He doesn't need to. He says them loud enough for the family to hear, and loud enough for the witnesses in the front row to lip-read. Touch the blood. He straightens up, gets back on his bicycle, and pedals away. He doesn't look back. For 3 seconds, nothing happens. Then the screaming starts, not from physical pain, but from understanding. The aunt recognizes the tile. She knows the code. In the underworld folklore of the Marielitos and the cocaine cowboys, the 66 means the game is locked, and touch the blood means the contract isn't on the man who betrayed the organization. The contract is on his lineage. It is a promise that the earth will be salted. The effect is immediate and devastating. It is a quarantine. The customers at the stall drop the fruit they were holding and back away, as if the family has the plague. The neighboring vendors start packing up their crates in a frenzy, desperate to put distance between themselves and the marked family. Within 60 seconds, stall number 42 is an island of isolation in an empty square. Back in the motel room, the phone rings. Miguel picks it up, expecting Agent Miller to tell him the plane is ready. Instead, he hears the chaotic, sobbing voice of his aunt. She doesn't have to explain. She just screams about the domino. Miguel freezes. The blood drains from his face, leaving him a shade of gray that matches the storm clouds outside. He drops the receiver. He looks at Agent Miller, who has just burst into the room, triumphant, holding a dossier. "We got the clearance," Miller says, smiling. "We move in an hour. You're going to be a free man, Miguel." Miguel looks at the agent, and for the first time, he looks at him with pity. He realizes that the Americans, with all their satellites and wiretaps and immunity deals, do not understand the nature of the woman they are fighting. They think the law is written on paper. Miguel knows the law is written in reputation. "I'm not going," Miguel says. His voice is dead. Miller blinks. "Excuse me? The deal is done. You testify, you get the life. If you walk out that door, we can't protect you." Miguel stands up. He walks over to the window and looks out at the city that is no longer his home. "You can't protect me anyway," he whispers. "You can stop a bullet, Agent Miller, but you can't stop a ghost. She didn't send a shooter, she sent a rule." He knows that if he testifies, if he says one word to a grand jury, the 66 rule activates. His daughter will never be safe. Not in Arizona, not in Alaska, not on the moon. The only way to unlock the board, the only way to lift the sentence from his child, is to sacrifice the player. Miguel turns around and holds out his wrists. "Arrest me," he says, "or let me go, but I don't have a voice anymore." He walks out of the hotel room. He walks away from the immunity, away from the fresh start and straight into the silence. He surrenders himself not to the police, but to the code. By refusing to speak, he buys his daughter's life with his own freedom. He chooses a prison cell and a closed mouth, because in Griselda's world that is the only currency that buys mercy. The aftermath was a phenomenon that baffled the criminologists at the University of Miami. In the 72 hours following the incident at the market, 3 other high-level informants in the Blanco organization simply vanished. They didn't run. They went to ground. They stopped answering the DEA's pages. The phone lines went dead. The case against Griselda Blanco stalled. The headlines screamed about police incompetence, but the streets knew the truth. You can offer a man a new name. You can offer him a house in the suburbs, but you cannot offer him peace of mind once the godmother has touched the domino. 6 months later, the crime rate in that specific sector of Miami paradoxically dropped, not because the criminals were gone, but because unauthorized violence was banned. The organization had learned the lesson. The chaos was replaced by a terrifying, disciplined order. Griselda had proven that she didn't need to fill the morgues to control the city. She just needed to prove that her reach was longer than the government's memory. Miguel the Saint served 20 years in a federal penitentiary on unrelated charges. He never testified. His daughter grew up, went to college, and became a teacher in Fort Lauderdale. She is alive today because her father understood the message of the tile. In the business of death, fear is a stronger currency than gold, and loyalty isn't about love. It's about knowing who holds the keys to the cage. Now I have a question for you. If you were in that hotel room holding the winning ticket to a new life, would you have walked out to save your family? Or would you have burned the empire down and taken the risk? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to know what happened when the godmother finally met a rival she couldn't scare, there's another story waiting for you right here. Click now.